Welcome to Meet the CFO, Shannon Nash. This is our new career-oriented interview format by the Controllers Council. And my name is Neil Brown, Executive Director of the Controllers Council. Before I introduce our CFO, allow me to cover some brief housekeeping items. First, although we'll not have live Q&A today, feel free to use the GoToWebinar control panel to ask a question to our panelists or the Controllers Council, and we'll respond post-webcast. Second, a video recording of today's interview will be available to all attendees via an email link you'll receive in the next 24 hours. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to our Chief Financial Officer and panelist and colleague, Shannon Nash, who is CFO at Wing, an alphabet company. Shannon has a distinguished career, most recently as CFO at Reputation. And prior to that, she was a CAO as well at Reputation. Shannon is a board member at NYSE listed UserTesting and a board advisor for the Controllers Council. Her education background is equally distinguished with a BS Accounting and a JD Law from the University of Virginia, and CPAs from both the states of California and Virginia. And I understand she's a recovering attorney with licensures in both DC and Virginia. So with that, I will welcome Shannon and thank you for joining us today. Let's go on video.
Great.
Well, so.
Thanks for having me, and yes, I do consider myself to be recovering. I play lawyer on TV sometime.
Oh, that's good. So Shannon, as mentioned, this is our new interview format, and it's intended to get to a number of career-related questions, a so-called lightning round of Q&A. So with that, the first question is, you're degreed in accounting and law, then practiced tax law. What inspired you to pursue a career in corporate accounting finance?
Well, I'll start with the fact that I always liked finance and numbers. Even if you think about, tax law and going into that type of law, I was always leaning towards, that area of the law that dealt a lot with numbers and understanding a lot about how business works. As you mentioned before, I went to the University of Virginia, both the undergrad McIntyre School of Commerce and the law school there, and just got a lot of really good training and mentorship from professors there. And so I knew that I could kind of take both of those backgrounds and turn it into some type of business profession. I just didn't know exactly how that would work for me. I actually practiced law, as you said, for a number of years. I worked at K&L Gates and Cooley, and really got to do a lot of transactional legal work in addition to tax work. And I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it, I guess I would say to you. And so at a certain point, I hit a fork in the road and realized that I just wanted to be closer to the business. I wanted to understand business operations. I wanted to understand how to run a P&L. And so really the best way with my background to do that was to kind of go the finance track. So that fork in the road of, do you want to be a general counsel or a CFO? I chose the CFO route and had to do a lot of, at this point, I'm probably close to almost a decade of practicing law. So I had to do, a lot of roles that, were kind of starting over again, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do. Eventually I wound up becoming VP of finance for a company called Cumulus Media. And so I was in a bigger organization, publicly traded, and really got to learn a lot about just how it works to run a finance department and team. And then from there, I became CFO of a private company called Inside Source, which is a commercial furniture design company, B2B, dealing with logistics, over 200 million in revenues, really nice size, multi-locations, expanding overseas in Europe. And so really got to really hone in a lot of my skills at Inside Source. And then from there, as you mentioned, I went over to Reputation, which is a SaaS company. I was chief accounting officer and then eventually becoming CFO. And my most recent change is I am now CFO of Wing, which is a drone delivery company. It's one of Alphabet's subsidiaries, and really excited about being able to marry my interest in technology and in emerging, markets with my finance and operational background. So although it's one of those things where I didn't know I would be doing this in finance with my background, when I look at all of my experiences, I think they come together in a way that's really helped make me be a differentiator in my field.
Neat. Yeah, you've got quite a background. I think I saw operations and HR in there as well. So the whole.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know if we'll talk about it, but once you, especially in smaller organizations and startups, there is a whole level of what I would call breadth of experience that you're able to get, if that's what people are looking for. And so for me, that, and a lot of CFOs, quite frankly, in smaller organizations will get some of the G&A type of functions reporting up through them.
Excellent. Well, let's go to our second question. You're very active with boards and member associations. How does this help or support your career development?
Many ways. I mean, I think first and foremost, especially when you're talking about boards, it helps you really become more strategic. When you're on a board, and especially if you get a chance to be on a board of a public company, your role is not to be an operator. Your role isn't to sit on the management team. Your role is to help the CEO and the management team see around corners, to really think about, where's the best new market for us to expand into? What is the best new product for us to invest money in? How much should we be investing in R&D versus sales and marketing? Like, that is your role, to be super strategic. And so it really helps you develop a completely different muscle in how you, approach your business. And then you take that same muscle back to your own business, and it helps you in a way to be able to structure how you communicate, not only with your peers, but with your own board. So I think that what I will say, when I first decided I even wanted to be on board, I talked to and I've had a lot of supporters in my life. And really, everyone was saying that being on a board is kind of, especially if you're still operating, it's kind of like a win-win. You learn a lot from being on that board, but you also bring a lot to that board because you're also facing a lot of these same challenges and issues. So I really think high level, it has taught me how to think a different way and approach problems in a different way, in a more strategic way. But at the same time, in terms of just helping your career, anything that you can do that's going to help you network more with your peers, network more with people in your industry, which boards will do for you as well, just kind of helps you advance your career. I'm sure you're aware of this, Neil. The higher you get in your career, new opportunities do not come from going on to websites, for example, and searching for jobs. You are usually being talked about for roles and you don't even know it. It's because people in your network have suggested you as the person for the next role, the person for the next board. And so that's another kind of really amazing thing about serving on board. It really helps you expand your network and your exposure and your access even to know about these new opportunities. And then finally, I just like to learn, and I've always been that way. And you have to learn a lot about being on the board. If it's an industry you're already in, you may not have as much to learn. But if it's a new industry to you, you have to learn about that industry. And a lot of times you're learning things that can still help you in your day-to-day job. It helps you think about, maybe the metrics that you're in a SaaS business, and maybe the metrics that you use are completely different than the metrics that this business use. And you have to learn how that all works in another business. But a lot of times there's a lot of similarities, and it helps you think about approaching problems in a different way. So I highly recommend it.